Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and today, my friends, we're back with a showdown here between Kislev and Bretonnia. It's going to be the forces of Dagon facing off against Roflin. It looks like the Elemental Bear ROR is here, the Heart of Winter. I think it's called the Frozen Heart of Winter, I think that's its name. It does also have a Bound Heart of Winter spell, which against Bretonnia, I suppose, could be decent. You know, Bretonnia can sometimes get into these big, like, cavalry blobs and infantry blobs with a bunch of chaff units, so certainly some applications. Now, big monsters do have a bit of a history of being okay against Bretonnia. Like back in the day in Warhammer 2, we would sometimes see Lizardmen players use like Dread Saurians against them, because Bretonian archers don't really, I mean, they can volume fire this thing down, but if, you know, Lizardmen have healing on their big monsters, so too does Kislev in a very kind of consistent way. They can use the Patriarch, who does have this item that gives 0.10 per second, and on top of that, they do have 3 charges of the Salak's Lullaby, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 3 charges. So pretty, you know, heavy-duty amount of healing. So if you have like 4 or 5 peasant archers shooting into the bear, and it's constantly being healed, I mean, it can certainly endure that. Now, what Bretonnia would normally do is try and isolate the Frozen Heart, an open field, maybe get like a Paladin, Henri Le Massif, some Hippogriff Knights, some Knights of the Realm, something like that. But Kislev, of course, has really stalwart infantry, so theoretically you could kind of buffer off those type of threats by using your infantry, and Kislev does also have decent SEM fighting. Like, if you're looking at this matchup in general, in my experience, it's often been like, you know, the Fey Enchantress and, you know, a Paladin and or the Green Knight fighting against like a Patriarch and like some sort of a Snow Leopard. So it's kind of a very cagey SEM fighting matchup. But nonetheless, we do have an Ice Witch of Tempest, which is going to be trying to bombard the archers, I would imagine, Patriarch for healing, and the Frozen Heart of Winter. Pretty cool stuff, man. On top of that, we got some Kossars in the back, some Bow Kossars, and it looks like it's going to be some more Armored Kossars. This is, hands down, in my opinion, one of the best tools against the forces of Bretonnia. Little Grom is just so good. Cannons in general are good against Bretonnia, and Little Grom is even harder to shut down. Like, for example, if you're playing the Empire and you have a great cannon, Bretonnia might be able to kind of slip past your defenses, get some Yeomen or some Knights Errant on top of that, but Little Grom can't really be shut down in that way. And really, Bretonnia doesn't have any like viable way of actually killing Little Groms. It's very much like a grindy effort in which they have to chase it with their single entity Paladins and things like that. So for the armies here of Roflin, in the front line, it is going to be Fey Enchantress. It looks like Henri Le Massif and a Paladin, and a huge battle line of Men-at-Arms with Archers and Foot Squires. So this is taking place in the new patch. Foot Squires did, of course, get some nice buffs. I believe they got an increase to their bonus versus infantry, yeah, up to 12. And I could have sworn there was a cost reduction as well. But yeah, pretty nice for Bretonnia, and also Men-at-Arms did get a cost reduction, so much like the Empire, who got blanket cost reductions on their, you know, state troopers, it looks like Bretonnia got the similar treatment, so maybe we'll see a little bit more of the dreaded man-tide, as we like to call it here on the channel. So Little Grom ripping a shot, is able to hit some peasant bowmen, take out some models, as well as a couple Foot Squires, so certainly not terrible, trying to lower those guys down. In classic Bretonnia, just getting the Fey Enchantress with her Mortis Engine, her 2 Paladins. Of course, she heavily outpaces the Horse Paladins. Oh my god, she just got cannonballed right to the face. Uh-oh, she better be careful. That's a lot of damage coming in. Looks like that's maybe going to be a Dweller's Blow going down, which I don't think it's really worth it on just an Armored Kossar, especially if they're going to be able to move out of it. I mean, I guess that's not bad. It's a pick. You know, these guys aren't cheap. They're about 600 gold, and that one Dwellers does do a substantial amount of damage for sure, but at the end of the day, I think saving Dwellers for some of the more, you know, a bigger blob or other high-value targets could be worth it. Now, what's the response going to be for Kislev? It looks like right now they're banking resources, most likely going to be summoning in some Warbear Riders or Snow Leopards, like maybe like a double Snow Leopard to try and fight this off, because right now, I mean, this is pretty rough. I mean, normally you would have your characters or your bear kind of defending this, but in this situation, Little Grom is very vulnerable. Now, it looks like the Paladins are going to be running away, maybe not wanting to get caught by these Armored Kossars, but not that they would really do anything. I think Roflin is just kind of refreshing his charge bonus here, and yeah, it's doing a really good job, honestly, getting some big value early on. But yeah, we see 1600. It's probably going to be the ROR, Warbear Riders, the Oath Brothers of Tor, perhaps? I mean, that could be it. We do see the Patriarch as well as the Ice Witch coming in, and so far, Bretonnia is certainly getting the upper hand of the trade, but the Elemental Bear is perched up on the high ground, and the Elemental Bear should be good against most of this army. We do also see the cost-reduced Grail Relief back there. Okay. We do see it. That's what I thought. The Oath Brothers of Tor are going to be coming out, the anti-large bears. And yeah, I mean, if they can trap the Paladins here and actually use their mass to pile in and keep this Paladin pinned in, ooh, that's going to be a rough loss. Man, he got caught in the bear trap here. Okay, that was pretty good. Henri Le Massif going to get circle beaten, and that's going to be, you know, not a cheap loss. Henri Le Massif, I think, is like, what, like 800, 900 gold, give or take? So that's a really, really nice pick by our Kislev player. So he certainly equalizes the trading and does take a little bit of an advantage, as, yeah, Henry's not going to be getting away from all these angry bears. And Oath Brothers of Tor are pretty cool. They do have this, like, nice AoE, the Call of Tor, which is pretty good against, like, Men-at-Arms type troops and just, you know, state troopers, lightly armored things in general. It helps them kind of get out from those situations in which they're really bogged down. So now up to the high ground here. We do have the Foot Squires holding the pass here, as the Kislevites do have the high ground. Elemental Bear watching these Knights of the Realm up in the hills. I think these are Spear Kossars, so the Spear Kossars should be pretty resilient against Knights of the Realm, and it looks like the Elemental Bear is just going to be kind of taking it easy. Now, how is Kislev going to be pushing the middle? Roflin does have a really solid double cap, using the unholy hordes of peasant mobs just to control the top objective, which I love. Because like when you look at this, when you're in a game against Bretonnia, you might not necessarily have the time when you're microing to like look at every single thing. You're like, oh man, they're heavily defending that back objective, even though that's only like 400 gold worth of stuff. So interesting choice. Oh, the bear breath attack doing a ton of damage. Oh my god, did you guys see that? That was brutal. So those Knights of the Realm got caught. They literally like moved into the bear like breath meat grinder right there. That was so much damage. And the Elemental Bear, so far, probably has gotten some decent value. Yeah, about 500 value from that one breath attack. And we do see the Oath Brothers of Tor coming up there. So that's a pretty big win for Kislev, as Kislev does maintain its value lead. The Fey Enchantress has been getting popped by Little Grom. So Little Grom taking some downtown shots at what appears to be the Grail Relic or the Paladins. Yeah, something there in the middle, but for the most part, nice bombardment coming in from Kislev. Is able to nail several units there. The Peasant Bowmen do get absolutely obliterated. And I do like the Lore of Tempest. I think it's the better Lore of Magic nowadays. I've been kind of playing, and at least it can do some damage, whereas Ice is just kind of seems a little bit janky at times. Armored Kossars shooting in there, getting a little bit of damage, mostly into the Men-at-Arms, who do have the silver shield, so not terribly impactful. And it looks like there's going to be a Dweller's Blow coming down. That was a really, really good cast by Roflin. Beautiful stuff. He's able to get both the Armored Kossars. And looks like Kislev is going to be scattering, but was that overcasted? It was overcasted, which doesn't do more damage, but it does apply more of a speed debuff, which makes it harder to get out of the effect range. So Snow Leopard's moving in, Patriarch as well as the Ice Witch are here to party, Fey Enchantress moving across, and now that Henri Le Massif did get picked in the beginning, it's going to be substantially harder for the forces of Bretonnia to deal with this giant erect bear up in the hills, right? So the bear is in its natural habitat, really, just kind of going after a bunch of infantry. Of course, it does have the breath attacks and the wings, and if this Elemental Bear is able to get some good value this game, I'm just going to be so happy. Look how cool this thing is, man. I can't wait for Games Workshop to make an actual tabletop model out of this bad boy. I'm going to be super hyped. So the bear moving down, nice blizzard effects, trying to clear out some of the infantry as the big terror routes are going to be coming into play. Granted, Bretonnia does have access to the Grail Relic, which does give immune to psychology to nearby units, so these Foot Squires should be ITP right now. It looks like they are. And up on the high ground, it looks like Bretonnia is coming in for some pretty aggressive play, actually. 2 units of Cav. Knights Errant, mind you, so not the most powerful Cav in the world, but downwards charging into the Kossars here, and the Armored Kossars, who are sandwiched by Foot Squires. So that was a nice downhill charge, but there is going to be a response. Kislev, of course, very stalwart folk, going to be using their Buy Our Blood passive to stay in the fight a little bit longer. And the Oath Brothers of Tor, the giant bear riders, going to be battling versus the Bretonnian cavalry. And Bretonnian cavalry did get better this game as well. Lance formation is so incredibly good. I haven't actually noticed if Roflin's been using it, but it does a lot of damage for sure. I think that's definitely worth using. So bombardment going down there from Dagon. He's able to hit several units here, and it looks like the Elemental Bear Goon Squad's doing quite nice. Look at that, the Heart of Winter as well. Okay, all of the Bretonnian cavalry, oh no, charging into the Heart of Winter, and it's going to be going into overdrive right now. So Heart of Winter is currently in its higher tier, and it's doing 100 to 200 damage a second, and really slowing down all these calves. So that was a pretty colossal mistake, and oh my god, is this Elemental Bear actually going to pay for itself? Is this going to be the first time? 2,300 value, look at the Elemental Bear routing off all the cavalry. Oh, this is so cool. I mean, I love rooting for Bretonnia as well, but Kislev is definitely more of the underdog faction here. Bretonnia is like, I would say, 50-50 faction. Maybe a little bit under 50% on their win rates, but they're solid. Bretonnia is a solid faction. Really nice Chalice of Potions there by the Fey Enchantress, and the Elemental Bear is going to be taking it to the Paladin. Certainly, you know, above his pay grade, having to take on this Elemental Bear on his own. And it looks like he's going to be terrified. He's frostbitten, and the Bear's trying to give him the old rear treatment here. Nonetheless, Oath Brothers of Tor kind of sweeping through the Bretonnian lines. We do see the middle objective is now being flipped. Currently a pretty substantial point lead for Roflin, but nothing that Bretonnia couldn't win on 2 objectives here. And with the point deficit, it's going to be very tough for Bretonnia to get this one back. Granted, they do have very good cavalry. Bretonnia definitely wins in the cavalry game. Knights of the Realm trade upwards into Griffin Legion. They'll trade up into anything except, obviously, the Bear Riders, which costs almost twice as much of them. So I would say the kind of mid-tier, low-tier Cav is going to be favoring Bretonnia with Knights Errant, Knights of the Realm. They're just so good. But when you get to like endgame Cav, you know, obviously the Warbear Riders with healing can be pretty good. So Dweller's Blow going down once again, and it does nail a couple of these units, but obviously Kislev is going to be incredibly tough to remove from this objective. Fey Enchantress, Mortis Engine isn't really going to do much here. Most of the big threats to the forces of Bretonnia are, of course, these big giant SEM models, so not going to be terribly strong, but I really do like this play here. This is actually nice. Roflin, knowing that he's a little bit behind in value and that the Bretonnian army, or Kislev army, is very rooted in its slower single entities, he's going to be using his maneuverable cavalry to kind of steal these side flanks, which I think is a very strong play. It might lead to the situation where Kislev actually needs to get a triple cap. But yeah, Kislev is kind of getting smashed. Not Kislev, Bretonnia is getting smashed on here. Sorry, guys. I just had my Thanksgiving feast yesterday. My brain is still like having to start, you know, get those gears turning once again. When you just go into a food coma like that, it can certainly make you pay the troll toll. Foot Squires, down to the pit. Very, very strong. Foot Squires are incredible against the Kislevite infantry. I think they would actually probably defeat the Kossars with great opens, although leadership might come into play in the fact that they have really low melee defense. But yeah, with those buffs to their melee attack they recently got, that's quite nice. But yeah, Kislev here just hammering these Bretonnians. Gravel Leak's going to go down. These Foot Scars will also pay the price, as the Frozen Heart of Winter will probably turn about and fight them. Although it kind of looks like maybe, just maybe, Dagon's going to be going for the high ground objective, going for objective 1 here, trying to rout off some of the peasants. Maybe he'll leave the Elemental Bear and the Oath Brothers on the low ground. No, it looks like the Oath Brothers of Tor are going to be going up to the high ground to try and contest this objective. And we do see some more Warbear Riders coming out. So Warbear Riders should be able to defeat Knights of the Realm. But you can see how good of a fight that is for Knights of the Realm. Like, they traded really well considering they cost, like, you know what, like 500-600 less gold. That's a really, really cost-effective trade there. Knights of the Realm also being buffered off by these Kossovite Dervishes. More Dervishes coming up. And Kislev does have really, really nice cheap cav. Kossovite Dervishes are a great unit. I mean, kind of in the similar vein to like Illyrian Reavers and Dark Riders, although I would say they're better than Dark Riders and not quite as good as Reavers. Although having Unbreakable on like cheap skirmish cav just to hold points is really, really nice. So Oath Brothers on their way back up, and on the high ground it looks like the Peasants going to be holding on to that one for a little bit longer, but obviously Kislev isn't going to be struggling too hard to get this point back as the Oath Brothers do arrive at the Patriarch with Salak's Lullaby. I would wager he's going to get a fat heal and heal up both of these Warbear Riders, which would just be incredibly cost effective. So what's the Bretonnian response going to be? We get more Foot Squires coming out. We do get the Knights Errant who are in Lance Formation, and they do get Little Grommed right in the face. That's one of the downsides of Lance Formation, is that you do, unfortunately, just get cannonballed super hard because it goes like right through the center mass and gets a lot more model kills than it normally would if they were in more of a kind of a line formation. But they're going to be charging in. This Elemental Bear, though, man, it's not going anywhere, and it looks like the Lance Formation does get an okay charge there, kind of broken on the Bears with their high armor. And this Elemental Bear, man, it's not taking much damage at all this game. 3,200 value, and immediately the Knights of the Realm or the Knights Errant are already broken off, as Kislev just hammers the Bretonnian backdoor up on the high ground. And objective 1 still being held. These peasants definitely have the best job in all of Bretonnia. For once, you know, the Knights are the ones suffering. Like down in the low ground, all the Knights of Bretonnia are the ones getting wrecked, and these guys are just sitting here, you know, sipping on wine, enjoying their best life. Warbear Riders also aren't terrible against armored infantry. They do have really good armor piercing, very much the same as like Demogryph Knights. Like Demi Halberds are okay at killing armored infantry. Like at the Chaos matchup, you can use them sometimes. Well, but this was back when Warriors of Chaos used to actually bring infantry and not just spam Hellstriders and Horsemen. But essentially, you know, Demogryph Knights were sometimes a decent kind of hybrid pick for eventually taking out armored infantry in the late game, and you would see this with like the Royal Outdwarf Griffites getting late game terror out victories against the Warriors of Chaos. It would happen sometimes, you know. Sigmar power fantasy all day. So Bretonnia really looks like they're probably done this game. I don't see much else that they're going to be able to do. Dervishes do have pretty good combat stats, at least enough to outmatch these brave peasant mobs. In combat, we do get more Dervishes coming out here from Dagon, and they do have the support of the Patriarch, which can heal them through what little damage they may take from the shovels and farming tools of those peasants. And Bretonnia just looking super scattered. We do see a little bit of a resistance here in the backfield as some Knights of the Realm have come back from the rally, but probably just going to be unsummoned at this point. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if Bretonnia just taps out here, as we do see the forces of Kislev just swamping all over the high ground. Oath Brothers of Tor, nice little bombardment right there, and that is going to be a triple cap, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful, beautiful Kislevite play. I really enjoyed the pick of the Frozen Heart of Winter. I mean, he made that thing work, and Roflin is a really, really strong player. He's an incredibly strong tournament player, and so too must Dagon be, right? But if it worked against him, it certainly has some teeth. And yeah, man, the Heart of Winter was nice. It was just a big terror-causing presence that, you know, obviously was hard to deal with after Henri Le Massif got caught. I would have liked to have seen how the game would have gone if Henri Le Massif didn't get picked early, although I still think the Bear had enough health buffering that it would have been fine. But, you know, that pick early on was very, very nice. GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. I certainly did. Really, really cool seeing these kind of off-meta builds work. And, yeah, let's look at the Bear. 4,800 value, 3,600. It paid for itself, man. It paid for a Dread Saurian just about. It almost paid for the Shredder of Lustria. And look at that, 2,000 value on the caster as well. So those Tempest casts on the Foot Squires were, or the bombardment, the hailstorms must have been doing pretty darn good. And that's what's really cool about Kislev characters. If you put them on the Bear, they become really good fighters. Really, really good fighters for sure. Now looking at the Warbear Riders, we got 1,200, 1,400 value, still very healthy at the end. And Roflin's build was cool. I liked it. You know, he had the Foot Squires to deal with the Kislev infantry. Peasant archers obviously are just always good. Even against armor, they still perform well. What was in reinforcements? Knights of the Realm. Yeah, it did kind of, I guess didn't have too many like heavy anti-armor options. Like I think like mixing in the companions of Quenelles there, like the big armor-piercing anti-large questing knights could be good. I'm also not a hater of the Hippogriff Knights in this matchup. Sometimes they can do okay, but nonetheless, GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Great game. Thank you guys for sending that one in. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you on the other side. And there is the Frozen Heart of Winter.